Hi, I'm George Nickson, Principal Percussionist of the Sarasota Orchestra. Welcome to Masterworks 4 Impressions. From the delicate and nuanced blend of orchestral color to the awesome power of the sea, our concert of French masterpieces offers something for everyone. Join me on a journey through the eyes and ears of three of Paris's most profound musical minds. Maurice Ravel is one of the most accomplished orchestral composers of all time. His inventiveness, working with the limitless colors and sound that an orchestra can produce, set a new standard and path forward for music history. Subtlety, panache, and exquisite attention to the smallest detail exemplify Ravel's style. Ravel's Pavane for a Dead Princess has achieved great popularity despite its seemingly dark title, which nevertheless accurately connotates the compelling melancholy of the piece. Ravel claimed the title meant nothing, saying, "When I put together the words that make up this title, my only thought was the pleasure of alliteration." He later clarified his intentions, saying that the piece is not a funeral lament for a dead child, but rather an evocation of the pavane that might have been danced by such a little princess as painted by Velázquez. Ravel dedicated the work to a princess of sorts, his patron Winnaretta Singer, one of the heirs to the singer's sewing machine fortune, the Princess de Polignac, and a very important musical philanthropist in turn of the 20th century Paris. The pavane began its life, like the majority of Ravel's most famous orchestral pieces, as a piece for solo piano, which ties perfectly into our second piece on the concert, a star turn for instrument and soloist alike, written by none other than Frédéric Chopin. American pianist Andrew Van Oyen returns to the Sarasota Orchestra with Chopin's elegantly gorgeous and technically demanding Second Piano Concerto. Van Oyen's international career continues to grow as he regularly appears with great orchestras throughout the US and Europe. We are thrilled to have him back here in Sarasota. Traveling virtuosi were expected to arrive with their own showpieces in hand. So many of history's best-known composers of piano concerti, such as Mozart and Beethoven, wrote pieces for themselves to perform as soloists. Although Frédéric Chopin, during his years living in Paris, was known to be a reluctant performer, playing only for small, select audiences in the famous parlors of the city, he initially followed the same, more audacious and virtuosic path of the composer-pianists who came before him. He was just 19 when he wrote his first piano concerto, which, because it was the second to be published, we know today as his Piano Concerto No. 2. Still living in Poland at the time of the work's composition, Chopin had fallen desperately in love with Konstancja Gładkowska and was channeling all of his amorous energy into this work. Chopin performed the concerto in Warsaw as soon as it was complete on March 17, 1830. Chopin never felt entirely comfortable writing for the orchestra, and thus after the grand entrance of the piano in the opening maestoso, the ensemble is relegated to the background. Passionate melody dominates the larghetto, inspired by Chopin's dream of his new love, Constantia. As Franz Liszt said of the second movement, passages of surprising grandeur may be found in the adagio of the second concerto. The whole of this piece is of a perfection almost ideal. Its expression, now radiant with light, now full of tender pathos. The concerto concludes with a crystalline allegro vivace, at once tenderly lyric and brilliantly virtuosic. For the second half of our program, we leave behind the exploration of human emotion and refinement for the awe-inspiring power, majesty, and serenity of the ocean. Ideas of the avant-garde dominated the culture of late 19th century Paris. Symbolist poets and post-impressionist painters rubbed shoulders with the likes of Debussy, and their collective ambition to reach beyond the ideas, sights, and sounds of the day fueled the rich explosion of musical invention in Debussy's best-known work, La Mer. Debussy's exploration of not only the natural ocean theme, but his embrace of Eastern-influenced sounds of tam-tams, cymbals, gongs, and the exotic can be traced to his attendance at the 1889 Paris Universal Exposition, where he encountered gamelan groups from Indonesia and various musicians with new and strange instruments from the Far East. This subsequent blend of Eastern and Western ideas charted a new path for Debussy and changed music composition forever. The first movement of La Mer, from dawn until noon on the sea, evokes flashes of sun and undulating reflections of clouds on the water's surface. Despite this ever-changing surface, Debussy reminds us that the sea is eternal, with a soaring and magisterial chorale from the unified brass section. A truly stunning moment of the orchestral repertoire. The second movement, the play of the waves, sparkles with the spray of the ocean, complete with flashes of light brought to life through instrumental colors. In the final movement, dialogue of the wind and the sea, a storm approaches. The soaring chorale returns from the first movement to break these storm clouds apart as the orchestra charges forward through these final moments, which in my opinion are amongst the finest 3 minutes of music ever written for the orchestra. Goosebumps are guaranteed, at least from my position on the stage, and I trust yours in the audience too. It's going to be thrilling, and we can't wait to share these masterpieces with you. See you at Masterworks for Impressions.